NIOC, Georgia, welcome back. I'm CTI1 Coleman from N21. We hope you've been enjoying this year's Navy birthday celebrations. We've tried to bring you the traditional components of a Navy ball with the best of what 2020 can offer us. One of the most long-standing traditions is the toast, where we ask the group to join in with wishing success, happiness, and health to those honored. As we raise and drink from a glass of champagne or alternate non-water beverage of choice, we invite you to take a moment while reflecting on your service to our great Navy and raise your own glass, responsibly, of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, I propose a toast to the Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States.
Happy birthday, Navy, from Suda Bay, Greece. To the Queen!
To the Queen!
To the United States Army!
To the United States Air Force.
Hey everybody, this is CTRC Amy Westbrook coming at you from the USS Iwo Jima. I would like to say happy birthday to the Navy and propose a toast to our brothers, the United States Marine Corps.
Hoorah!
To the Space Force!
To the Chief of Naval Operations.
To our ships at sea. To those who stand the watch. To the United States Navy.
This week's guest speaker was destined for a life of service, having grown up in a family that stressed the values of honor, family, and respect, joining the Navy in 1986. Over the last 34 years, he has served around the globe, to include Alaska, Hawaii, and the most exotic of places, Norfolk, Virginia. His deployments include the Arabian Gulf, Mediterranean, Caribbean, Western Atlantic, and Afghanistan. He's a plank owner of the USS Harry S. Truman, served as the Tech Support Division Officer for SEAL Delivery Vehicle Team 2, deployed to Bosnia and Herzegovina in support of Operation Joint Endeavor in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba during the Cuban refugee crisis. He is qualified as an enlisted information warfare specialist, enlisted surface warfare specialist, enlisted aviation warfare specialist, expeditionary warfare specialist, and small craft officer in charge, and is distinguished as a naval parachutist. In October of 2017, he reported to his present assignment as a Force Master Chief for Naval Information Forces. Please join me in welcoming Force Master Chief David Carter.
Good morning. I am Force Master Chief David Carter, and I bring you Navy birthday greetings from the I-Boss, Vice Admiral Brian Brown, and the entire team here at the Naval Information Forces headquarters in Suffolk, Virginia. It is my honor and privilege to share a message with you as we celebrate the 245th birthday of our United States Navy. I wish I could be there with you in person, but the reality of the COVID-19 pandemic is precluding any opportunity to travel and spend time with our teammates, which is something I miss terribly. So, in lieu of being there with you, I am recording this message to be shared with you during the birthday week celebrations there at Port Gordon. This year's Navy birthday theme is Victory at Sea and focuses on the Navy's contributions to our nation's victory in the Pacific during World War II. Obviously, as the Force Master Chief for Information Warfare, I'm going to look at it through the lens of IW. Armies and navies have been using some form of information warfare throughout the ages, but its importance became much more prominent in World War II and especially in the Pacific theater. Most of you should be familiar with the Battle of Midway and its significance to the war in the Pacific and information warfare's role in its outcome. For those of you who have yet to study that particular battle, I'll provide you a quick recap. To put it bluntly, the Imperial Japanese Navy was kicking our butts in the early years of World War II and was working its way across the Pacific. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the architect of the Pearl Harbor attack, was planning another audacious campaign that would simultaneously attack the Aleutian and Midway Islands with an eye on gaining a foothold in the Central Pacific. However, due to the efforts of Commander Joseph J. Rochefort and his team of cryptanalysts at the Fleet Radio Unit Pacific, more commonly known as Station Hypo, the Pacific Fleet leaders were able to learn about the plan and respond to it. The Battle of Midway on 3–7 June 1942 was the first major loss for the Imperial Japanese Navy in World War II and proved to be a turning point in the war in the Pacific. It also solidified the importance of communications intelligence, or COMINT, in warfare operations. If you have not seen the 2019 version of the movie Midway, I highly recommend it. There's a really good depiction of the events leading up to the Battle of Midway and those involved in it. What many of you may not know is that the same team at Station Hypo that enabled the victory at Midway, minus Commander Rochefort, was also responsible for Admiral Yamamoto's demise later in the war. On a side note, Commander Rochefort was rewarded for his efforts at in the victory at Midway by being given command of a floating dry dock. Some reward. On 14 April 1943, Station Hypo intercepted and deciphered a naval message from the Imperial Japanese Navy that included a detailed travel itinerary for Admiral Yamamoto as he was conducting an inspection trip of the Japanese bases in and near the Solomon Islands. The decrypted message was taken to the Pacific Fleet Intelligence Officer, Commander Edwin Layton, who then delivered it to Admiral Chester Nimitz, Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. Layton and Nimitz discussed the pros and cons of killing Yamamoto. Layton, an intelligence officer who prior to the war had spent time in Japan on a language training program and was the naval attaché at the American Embassy in Tokyo, had met Yamamoto on several occasions and developed an admiration of him. Of note, Joe Rochefort was in the same training program and the two met on their voyage to Japan. Layton knew the loss of Yamamoto would be a huge blow to the Japanese Navy. There were other Japanese admirals with technical ability and leadership skill, but none had the stature, experience, innovative thought, or charisma of Admiral Yamamoto. However, Layton had mixed emotions because of his personal interactions with the highly respected Japanese admiral. It is not entirely clear who was involved in the decision-making process, but it was Nimitz who gave the go-ahead for what became known as Operation Vengeance. He tasked Vice Admiral William Bull Halsey with the planning and execution of the operation. The mission was then tasked to the U.S. Army Air Force's 339th Fighter Squadron, equipped with long-range, twin-engine P-38 Gulf Lightning fighters. The 339th was the only unit available on Guadalcanal that had the legs to conduct such a lengthy operation. The individual pilots selected for their mission were done so for their proven high-scoring combat experience. This would be a no-fail mission. The highly classified mission was approved by Halsey on April 17, 1943. The pilots were only told the target was a VIP. They did not know it was Yamamoto. Bad omens abounded before Yamamoto commenced his congratulatory tour, and his staff members tried to convince him not to make the flight, or at least change the schedule, but to no avail. At the last minute, Yamamoto ordered his chief of staff, Vice Admiral Madame Ugaki, to fly on a separate aircraft. Normally they flew together. However, both aircraft were shot down by the fighters of the 339th. Only Ugaki survived. His copious diary would become one of the most valuable documents to survive the war for describing the Japanese side of events. His story is another interesting read. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto died on Sunday, April 18, 1943, when his aircraft was shot down while en route to Buin Airfield on Bougainville Island in Papua New Guinea. The credit for the kill was embattled for many years due to the dogfight that took place during the mission, but the Air Force ultimately gave it to Captain Rex T. Barber. All of the Air Force pilots who flew the mission were awarded the Navy Cross. Although Yamamoto was killed on April 18th, the Imperial Japanese Navy did not make public his death until May 21st, more than a month later. Intercepted Japanese communications confirmed the 18 April kill. As Layton had surmised, Yamamoto's death was indeed a huge blow to Japanese Navy morale, from which they never really recovered. Although the war in the Pacific would continue for another 2 years, the Imperial Japanese Navy was unable to regain the level of success they had under Admiral Yamamoto and was eventually defeated. The war in the Pacific ended with the signing of the Instrument of Surrender on the deck of the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay on 2 September 1945. Not only did information warfare change the course of the war in the Pacific, it helped to bring about the end of it through the effective collection, analysis, and exploitation of communications intelligence. As we take the time to reflect on the Navy's contribution to the war in the Pacific during this observation and celebration of its 245th birthday, I encourage you to think about the contributions of information warfare to not only our success then, but to warfare in general today. As I like to point out to my TICOM peers on a regular basis, there is no warfare without information warfare. In closing, I want to thank each and every one of you for what you do on a daily basis to represent our Navy and to keep our nation safe. I wish the general public could learn more about what you do, but as we well know, the importance of secrecy in our line of work prohibits us from doing so. In lieu of the public's admiration, I hope you will accept my utmost respect and admiration for what you do every day. Words cannot express how proud I am to represent you as your Force Master Chief. May God continue to bless you, your families, and our United States Navy. Happy birthday, shipmates, and have a great Navy Day. Hoo-yah!
Thank you, Master Chief Carter. Join us next week for our final video as we conclude this year's Navy birthday celebrations.